Hello, MotoAmerica fans. It's time for another episode of Off Track with Carruthers and Bice. You'll laugh, you'll cry, and you may even learn something from this unlikely pair and their special guest. The mic is yours, Paul and Shawn.
Hey everybody, it's Paul Carruthers. I'm the communications manager for MotoAmerica, and this is another episode of Off Track, our weekly podcast. I'm joined again today by my cohort in crime, Shawn Bice, who's out in Ohio. I'm in Southern California, and our guest today, who we'll tell you about in a few minutes, is actually in his truck somewhere in Texas, I believe Conroe. So that might give you a little bit of a hint. But how are you today, Shawn?
I'm doing well. Hey, we're almost to the end of January now, moving into February, which is, of course, always the shortest month of the year, but seems like the longest month of the year for me. But we're moving ever so closely to the beginning of the season, so it's getting excited about that.
Yeah, I'm pretty pumped today. We have two-time world Superbike champion Colin Edwards. He was an AMA rider way back when. I got a quick story. I think it would have been 1992. This tall, skinny Texan showed up at Daytona with a.
That was the story I was going to tell, Paul. But go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's funny.
No, it's better coming from you because it's related to cycle news. But yeah, it was actually 1991. So go ahead. Good stuff.
I was working for Cycle News at the time. And I stumbled upon this kid, and I sort of had an idea who he was because I'd heard he was some hotshot kid that was coming to race for his, I guess, would have been his first professional AMA 250 race. And I was kind of interested in him a little bit too because his father was Australian, and I actually got to talk to his father, who was Colin Sr., and I talked to him prior to talking to Colin, and I'm like, oh, I want to do an interview with this kid. And we did so, and it turned out that I think it was his first interview in Cycle News, and it went really well. He was a nice kid, and then of course I instantly saw for the first time how good he was on a motorcycle, and the rest is kind of history because, as everybody knows who's listening to this show, he went on to great things. I always had a good relationship with him. I always had a great relationship with his father, who unfortunately passed away. I've been to his camp. He's the owner of Texas Tornado Boot Camp, and he's a good dude. He's always involved in motorcycling. He worked with MotoAmerica the first year doing some color commentary on TV, and he now does. He's now an analyst for MotoGP with BT Sports. Unfortunately, we don't have access to that. I see some clips every once in a while that seem to get snuck through on social media. He's in a good team over there. He's got Neil Hodgson and some other people in there. So it's a quality little broadcast group. And I know Colin does a good job with it. And I think he's having a lot of fun, and it keeps him involved in MotoGP. So why don't we bring Colin in and have a little chat with him?
Sounds good.
Good morning, fellas. What's going on?
We're all good.
We're doing great. Hey, Colin, so I want to revisit what Paul said from a different perspective when Paul was talking about Cycle News. So Paul was at Cycle News.
It was all a bunch of lies. All a bunch of lies.
No. No, because I didn't know anything about you, didn't know who you were. And I remember that back in those days, I had to get Cycle News in order to find out. And it was that Biketoberfest that year. And I remember just looking at those standings, I was like, oh my God, this guy Colin Edwards is winning everything. And you had an RC30, CBR 600, and a TZ. Oh no, it was an RC30 that you had. But you start out by kind of telling us about where that all happened. And you came with 3 bikes and just went nuts.
Yeah, it was 91 at the CCS races. That year. Was my first year, let's say, as a novice. I got my license in 90, and I wanted to go straight expert. And then Connie Brothers here at that time, CRRC, she said, please just stay 1 year a novice. You only got like 2 races under your belt. So, all right. So did that 91, all novice, and won everything. And then Mr. Eric Clementage, unfortunately, we had Larry Schwartzback that passed away, but this was before that. But he used to help, Eric Clementage used to help Larry Schwartzback. And then once Larry went to the factory or Vance and Hines team, there were some bikes freed up. So we had that RC30, had a TZ250. And he said, "Hey, why don't you ride these bikes? You know, you're pretty quick." And it was like, well, okay, you know. And that's how I kind of got with him. And the bikes came about. They weren't mine, of course, but we didn't have a pot to piss in, so we couldn't afford that kind of stuff. Um, Make a long story short, yeah, there were a couple of guys I showed up at CCS, and they were like, "Who's this factory novice kid with all these bikes?" But the reality of it is, I mean, Clemenage was a good dude, saw some talent, and wanted his bikes put to good use, and they got used.
And then I think later, didn't you also do some stuff at Road Atlanta that year too?
Yeah, we did. If I'm not mistaken, I entered 8 classes, or 7 classes at CCS. The only 2 I didn't win, I started on the second wave because I didn't run any qualifiers or anything. And then we went to Weir to the GNF, entered 8 races, and we won all 8 of them. So I think it was, yeah, 13 titles to begin with, and then right after that was Miami, and I had the TZ250. I wanted to go race, a pro race, and called AMA, and they were like, "You're crazy, dude. You're a novice. You might have won all these races, but you still got to do a year of expert before you can turn pro." And then they said, "Well, hold up, because I always started on the second wave on the novice races, but a lot of times I would be fighting for the overall lead at our local events." And so they went back and recalculated all the scores if I was an expert, and I had to have like 300 points. Well, I had like 600. I had double that. So they said, "Okay, provisionally, we'll give you a pro license to go race in Miami. Just don't be an idiot. Don't go take anybody out." And I went out there, and it was me and Felice dicing it out. I led the beginning of the race. He passed me, and I finished second in my first pro race. So it was a pretty good debut. I didn't crash, take anybody out. So the next year, I just went from novice straight to pro.
Okay, so Shawn made me feel really old and senile because I said 92, but it was 92 at Daytona when we did the interview, because that would have been your first.
Yeah, both of y'all were right. Y'all were talking about different Daytonas. The one in 91, obviously Shawn was talking about. You're talking about 92.
That's rare that we're both right, because usually it's just me.
Yeah, usually it's just you. Sure.
Too funny.
But I mean, it's amazing. You showed up at Daytona for the Biketoberfest, entered five national championships, then won 8 of them. Like you said, a total of 13 between Road Atlanta and Daytona. And before that, you were racing motocross. I guess you probably did a little bit of road racing, but probably not a lot. How in the heck did you do that? I mean, that's amazing that early on.
Well, man, I mean, yeah, I mean, all motorcycle, anybody that has the drive to do what we've done, all the guys I used to race with, we're all kind of weird anyways. I mean, we have this OCD or this mentality of fight, never give up. I don't know what it is we have, but it's just weird. And obviously I motocrossed, for years, age 3 to 14, and rode with Bradshaw and Emig and all the Brian Schwink and all these guys back in the day. And then at 14, I was 85 pounds, 4'11". I was a little guy. Won some national championships, Punk and Loretta on little bikes and stuff like that. But I just got tired of it, to be honest. It was go ride every day, come home, clean filters, wash bikes, wash gear, maybe get the homework done, maybe get the bike to eat, and the next day, same thing. Then you go out to the track, you forgot to wash your gear. Everything smells like a bucket of butts. And it's like you got to go out and do it again. And it just became such work at 14. I was over it, to be honest. And that's all I knew. So it took a year and a half or a couple of years off. I forget. Played tennis at school, and got some hair in my nuts and chased girls around a bit, and and then it got to a point where it's like, man, I gotta do something. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do. And senior, my dad, he had a plan. He bought me my first bike on the road was an FCR 1000 1988 model, which had 1,000,000 horsepower at that time for the age. So that was my transport to school, and then we ended up getting another bike, and we went to he said, "Hey, let's just go watch a local race. Let's just go." So we went there, and sure enough, Jeff Covington, that I used to motocross with and mop the floor with him, he's out there winning the local event. I thought, well, hell, if he can do it, I got to give this a shot. And pretty much that kind of is what started. I mean, senior, at the end of the day, he wasn't dumb. He was pretty smart and kind of placed all the eggs in the right baskets, and we just all had to meet and come together, and it happened.
So now you're back to smelly gear with your kid, I see.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Jesus, man. So Hayes, real quick story. He beats all of us here at the boot camp. I mean, he just won the national, both classes last year. He's so fast here at boot camp, but never done any motocross. So he's like, hey, I want to go race. First motocross race was this last weekend at Three Palms. He goes out there, wins his first race, and he's like, I want to do this. And he's like, I hate baseball now. I hate baseball. I'm like, dude, buddy, you don't have to hate something to do something else. Let's take this as it goes. So we've been baseballing since he was, T-ball. I've been coaching and stuff. But now it looks like I'm buying a race trailer and we're going racing.
Oh, man.
Wow.
So will it be motocross initially?
Yeah. He's full moto right now. He is ate up with it. It's ate up with it. And I mean, honestly, I raced this past weekend. I haven't been behind a starting gate in 31 years. And I got behind that gate and got a little bit nervous, to be honest, in over 30 and over 40 class, but I did all right. I didn't go home in an ambulance or end up at the hospital. So
you didn't loop out off the gate?
No, and they had the new metal gate, but there were some guys looping off of it.
It's funny, Colin. Paul and I'll talk with guests that we have on here or amongst ourselves sometimes about this. But when you have a child, there's no guarantee that kid is going to have any interest in doing what you did, and sometimes they're almost the opposite. I'm sure you said about Hayes doing baseball. You let him kind of do his own thing, but he's gravitated towards moto. And do you think it's just something in the genetics, or him being around the sport quite a bit? I mean, what do you think has got him to be on his own in terms of loving the sport? You're not pushing him into it, in other words.
Yeah, no, I mean, I do everything I can do to pull him away from it. I mean, to be honest, I mean, I don't say, hey, we got to go ride. Or, I used to get the tap on the forehead when I was sleeping in the morning when he was, 4 or 5 years old, wake me up. Hey, can we go ride today? I'm like, sure, buddy, we can go ride. And we just come out here to boot camp and ride all day. So it's material. The baseball, unfortunately, that's what we did to go have fun and, gotten other coaches and friends. And he's burnt out on it. He's just burnt out on baseball. And but in his head, I know right now, with this motocross being new and he's having so much fun with it, spring ball's about to start up. He's thinking we're going to be away playing tournaments, 12 or 14 tournaments this year. And that could be 12 or 14 weekends I could be riding motorcycles. So he's doing the math on he's going to miss out on a lot of riding. But I'm not going to make him play baseball. I don't want to ruin him on it forever. If I make him play, then he's going to be ruined. So let's ride the wave, roll with it, and we'll see where it goes.
Has he ridden on the pavement at all?
Yeah, we got a couple of O'Valleys here that we just got this year, and I thought this would be interesting. Got him some leathers made. Went out to Speed Sports over here in New Caney, and we rolled around for a day, and it was not natural. I can tell you that. He had all kinds of funky body position, and I, give him some teaching and coaching, but it wasn't natural. And when we got done, he wasn't like, I can't wait to go back. This is amazing. He was just like, oh, yeah, that was kind of interesting. So who knows, who knows?
I think the motocross guys get better chicks. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, hotter chicks. That's the key.
Exactly, rides when they're 14.
Well, in my case, it's hotter moms hanging out at the track.
Oh yeah. So Colin, this may be a dumb question for you, but to your point about it's not kind of natural to Hayes, just again, kind of your transition to kind of go from sticking your foot out in a corner to getting your knee down in a corner. Was that just a natural thing for you to be able to do that?
Well, you have to understand the time too, because I mean, Bailey had his accident, that David Bailey, and that freaked me out
Yep.
from motocross side. And then you had your Lachine and you're the guys coming up at that time. But at the same time, around that 89, 90, you had Wayne and Kevin and you had all these guys that were road racing. And it was becoming, I would say, bigger here in the U.S. And my dad was a road bike freak from day one. I mean, he loved it. He had a badass bike, so that he had for years. And so that when he got me that road bike to ride on the street, which man, I would never get my kid a FCR 1000 at 16 years old to go ride in the street. I mean, that's freaking dangerous. But he knew I had bike skills. But that little bit of year and a half or whatever it was, or a year that I was on the street and not doing anything crazy, I was literally commuting to and from school. But every now and then me and him go run the back roads and get our knee out. So I kind of had a little bit of, let's say, knowledge of body position. And obviously I'm watching, Wayne Gardner and Wayne Rainey and Schwantz and all these guys on TV. So once I got out on a road bike at Oak Hill and Henderson, and it was on I think it was a Ninja 250 was the first bike I went out on. And I knew pretty much I did 6-7 laps. I came in. I think my first words to my dad were, "Dude, I can go fast on this thing. Trust me." And kind of, and then it was just from that point on, progression wise was pretty steep. Just always having somebody to chase because, you start, you're slow, but we had a couple fast guys here in the club that I could chase and run around with.
Given the fact that you've had success pretty much immediately, what was the first time that you remember like going, oh man, this isn't that easy and things just got a little tougher?
Oh, let's see.
Now you're going to say MotoGP.
No, honestly, no, I'm not, because the TZ 250 year in 92, 91 I rode it, 92 was my first pro year. That year wasn't easy. I broke my navicular scaphoid bone like 2 races in, so I raced quite a few races with a broken navicular. I had surgery, so that part wasn't easy, but we were still winning races. It was a TZ 250. It was light, a 2-stroke, which I was used to. And then honestly, going up to Vance and Hines in 93, that was a bit of a wake-up call. Even though I had ridden that RC30 back in 91, it was a different bike. But then that was when you go, wow, the pace is a lot quicker than the old 250. That was, you remember I went my first year in Vance and Hines and didn't do anything. I mean, it wasn't that good. And even halfway through 94, it wasn't that good.
94, right.
And then 94, I just kind of made my mind up that I have to just start winning. And I think I won 3 of the last 4, or I don't know, but I won 3 in a row or something like that. And that's kind of what started. And that was just believing in myself. World Superbikes, yeah, that was kind of the same as that. Had a lot of fun, good times. But yeah, I mean, going into MotoGP after having so much success on a superbike, that was a huge wake-up call. Just the way you ride the bike was different. You couldn't ride the bike like a superbike. You had to figure the brakes out. You had to figure how much more force was going in through your arms that you could play with. It was a big learning curve.
One of the things I want to talk about, Colin, is I don't think I was the only one, but for sure I can tell you personally, I had a real big feeling of deja vu this past year with a tall, lanky Texan who all of a sudden figured out superbikes and started winning and went on a tear. And now he's going to be in World Superbike. And it's a guy that spent a lot of time at your camp in Garrett Gerloff. And he reminded me of you from that 94 season. And, I've spent a lot of time around Mitch Leonard, and we used to talk about you quite a bit. He told me about going into Mid-Ohio in 94, which is when you started that winning streak. And he was trying to check with you to make sure it was the bike okay and everything. And you said to him, well, yeah, Mitch, I think everything's good. I think the rider just needs to pull his head out of his ass. And he ended up winning that weekend and went on a tear. So do you remember that conversation with Mitch and all that?
I do, and this is gonna sound so freaking corny, and I'm sure I've told you all the story, but just to rehash it a bit. And, I mean, so I would have been 20 years old in '94, and having tons of talent, but just not the belief. It was just there was something in my head that wasn't right. And I literally was up at 2 in the morning one night just watching TV with my brother, and this motivational guy come on talking about how to believe in yourself and what you have to say to yourself. And instead of having doubt, follow through with this and this. It just literally common sense things, to be honest. So I ordered the tapes and I listened to them, and it was like, commit, don't say I hope, wish, can't try. Take those out of your dictionary. If you're going to do something, just say you're going to do it and go ahead and do it. And it just kind of, the one thing was the more you commit. So I remember that weekend in Mid Ohio, they're like, "Hey, you going to win?" And everybody that asked me, I was like, "Yep, I am going to win." So in the more you commit, the more you believe it in your heart. Really is where this was going, and I damn sure did. I committed, and I went out there and won it, and won the next one, and won the next one, and then fought for pole position with Scott Russell, who's the world champ previous year, and got pole at Road Atlanta, but he ended up winning the race. It was that's when the self-belief Mid Ohio really kicked in. But yeah, you're right. Hey, back to Garrett Gerloff, almost the same story, to be honest.
Yeah,
I mean,
felt like it.
the,
Yeah.
the kids had tons of talent for years, which we've known about, but just that gritty, dirty, get in there and do it has kind of been lacking a little bit. But now you can see it. I mean, the kids on
I
fire.
think you'll have success in World Superbike. Do you agree?
I do, and it helps coming off of how he's been riding this or in 2019. I mean, it helps coming off of that high and going into something else because somebody's believing in you to get you over there. So this is your shot, and I think he'll do great.
It's funny how it's kind of concentrated on Texas, but of course, that 2009 season with Ben Spies when he went over and did so well that first year, I think it would be insane to even imagine that Garrett could do something like that. But this is something I've never asked you, Colin. When Ben went into World Superbike, did you expect him to do what he did that year?
No, to be honest, I did not. But there's two parts to this story. I did not expect him to just show up at a brand new track and dominate. I mean, that was out of the question. I would have bet $1 million it was never going to happen, but he did it over and over and over. But then when obviously Ben was my teammate. What was that, 09 or 10, whichever year it was. But he told me the story about how hard they were riding here, which we used to see it. Him and Mladen and the guys. I mean, whenever there was still money around in the U.S., those guys were beating it out. I mean, beating each other and trying to kill each other on the track. So, I mean, they were riding hard. It's not like it was a national championship level, which I shouldn't say that in a bad way. But your national championship level seems to be a little bit lower usually, and I just say that based on Tony Elias coming over here and dominating his first year. We've seen it over and over. But for him to do that on the world stage, World Superbikes, that was impressive. That's when he left there and came to be my teammate at Tech 3. I knew before he even got there that he was going to be kicking my ass. I mean, I was going to try to stop it, but he just was on fire.
That's not a good feeling.
No. I mean, but you have to understand too. I mean, hell, I was 36 years older. I mean, I knew that my time was. Hell, I went into GP at 29. I mean, you look at Lorenzo, just retired at 32 or something. I mean, I got into MotoGP way too late, but I enjoyed it anyway. Still.
Talk to me a little bit about after your MotoGP career ended. You did some tire testing. And you're always pretty good at that. That's got to be a difficult thing to do, isn't it?
I was always, y'all know me. I was never ragged, out of shape, knees flying. I was never that kind of rider. I always kind of was smooth and calculated. And I enjoyed being able to stay smooth and calculated and find time and tires or bike setting or whatever it may be. If I could find 2/10 and not have to put out any more effort, game on, I'm in. But when you have to put in double the effort to find a 10th, I was out on that. So that's where tire testing, I loved it. I mean, to be honest, it was, and the relationship I had with Michelin, obviously, in Superbike days, and then to come back kind of to them at a test track, it was in all more or less the same paces. It was easy. I mean, it was easy. I mean, there's no grandeur about it. I mean, there's nobody out there asking for your autograph or no brawly girls. You're just out there grinding away. But I enjoyed it.
I got a double question for you, Colin. So this is going to be maybe tough or maybe not. We'll see. So what was the best bike you ever rode, and who is your most favorite teammate you ever had?
Oh, let's see. Best race bike. That's a two-parter as well. My first, if I think about like one of my dream bikes, fun bikes, the 92 TZ250. I love that thing. Obviously, it was my first pro year. It still stands out in my brain as such a fun bike to ride. I actually went to Barbara a couple years ago and did a few sighting laps around at their the vintage weekend on that same bike, and I was like, oh my God, I miss this bike. It was so much fun. Apart from that, my 02 or SP2, the Honda RC51 SP2, the second version of it. That bike, the bike, I shouldn't say was that great, but we had built a front tire around that chassis that you could get away with murder but that tire, it's weird. Nobody else could ride it. I could ride it on that bike and get away with anything and break lap records and do whatever, win races. But nobody else liked it. It just, that combination, me, tire, and bike, it all worked good. And as far as, let's go with GP real quick, my favorite GP bike, definitely not the 03 Aprilia. That thing tried to light me on fire a number of times.
The Cube.
The Cube. No, I would say either maybe the 05 or 06 Yamaha MotoGP bike. The 7 was when we went to 800s, and I did not like that bike at all. So I would say 5 or 6. Those bikes are pretty similar.
Okay, and how about your favorite teammate?
Favorite teammate? Man, it's hard to pass on Valentino. I mean, he was a great teammate. We got along fine. It's just a different world. I walk out of the truck and the factory Yamaha door opens and everybody goes, yeah, and they see it's me and they go, oh. And, thinking Valentino's coming out, and I'm like, it's all right. And by the time they're flipping pages to get to mine, I'm already past the crowd and through the crowd. So, but it was funny. It was good times. Honestly, I think Ben Spies was, we just had great camaraderie, and I knew where I was in my career. He knew where I was. He knew where he was. There was no animosity either way. We'd sit and talk about the bike. I mean, same with Valentino. But as far as with Ben, there was a little more, I don't know, Texas connection maybe.
Well, the video you guys did with Yamaha, the vacation, was absolutely priceless. Just the greatest. I think my favorite part is when you were stretching. It was like, can you? We'll have to look for that. Get people to Google or look for that on YouTube. That's a priceless video. One other question, Paul. I got one other one related to the TZ250. I want to ask him. So, Colin, every year when we go there with MotoAmerica, I'll go over to the museum, and I always go over and look at your number 45 Southwest Motorsports TZ. And the thing that amazes me is that it's so pockmarked on the front from, it basically was taken right off the track. And I guess you rode it like that a couple of years ago too. But I don't know. Maybe people know about this, but I don't know that they do. Can you talk about that tail section and why it looks funny
Oh yeah,
on that bike?
that's a story in itself, isn't it? Yeah, because I was obviously 5'11", 10 and a half or whatever at that time, and I couldn't get my knees and elbows. I couldn't get my elbows against the tank and my knees together. My elbows were outside my knees when I was scooted all the way back. So, and I think it was at Daytona. Yeah, because that would have been the first race. We basically I was just trying to get tucked in to get more slipstream. So I started putting my butt on the back, on the top of the seat. And it looked weird, obviously, like I'm sitting high, but it was slicker for sure. So that's when we decided to cut like a little step so I could pop my butt back up on that little step. And it worked out good. So if we ever had a long straightaway, I'd just get back on there and get slick. Funny thing was, we went to Sugo end of 92. Yamaha invited me to go to Sugo, some big Japanese all Japan race. Had me a bike sitting there, and sure as hell, they had my tail section. They had it custom made with the same little dip in it. So I don't know, but it worked. I mean, I don't know if it's caught on yet, but it definitely worked.
All right,
out.
let's fast forward a little bit to now. I was lucky enough when one of my last couple of years there at Cycle News to attend Colins Texas Tornado Boot Camp,
right.
and I did the 4-day camp, so my monkey butt lasted like 3 times as long as that, because I don't think I've ever ridden a motorcycle that much in my life at one time, and it was amazing, and I obviously recommend it to anybody that would like to do that, because it's guaranteed fun. It's like it's hard to even describe how much fun it is. You have fun all day. I think the way that you've got it set up where you can actually stay over, I think that makes all the difference in the world and turns it into a true camp. But you've obviously, I mean, I don't know how long you've been doing it now. Maybe you could tell us that, but I can hear a bike in the background already. But
I'm walking away from it.
But I know it's
Go.
I mean, I think it's like a wonderful thing for you to be doing, and I think it's also good for you. I think it's been something that you've really enjoyed putting together, and it obviously shows. So tell us a little bit about the Tornado Boot Camp.
Yeah, it's honestly, I bought this piece of property, I think in 03, and kind of the story was just somewhere I built a metal building out here. The guy had kind of raped all the topsoil off of it before I got it, and I was like, perfect, it's all red clay. That's what I want anyways. It takes all the work away from me. And so came out here, put a little metal building, and just kept bikes in there. And we'd come out, ride every weekend or afternoon, whenever we could. Shoot a few guns, if somebody had something new, break it out. We had a little target we'd shoot. And then after the guns were over, we might have a few beers and hang out here and have a bonfire. So this kind of progressed and kept going on and on. So obviously that was 03, 04. And then it was about, I'm going to say 08 or 07. And actually it was my wife, Alicia. She was like, what are you going to do when you stop racing? Because it's coming up, I mean, retired in 14, so this would have been 5 or 6 years before that. I was like, man, I don't know. I think it'd be a shame to crawl in the dirt and not teach or not kind of hand away some skills I've learned and just go quietly. I think it would, I'd like to help or teach or coach. So then I had a conversation with Bob Starr at Yamaha and was kind of giving him this idea. And he said, whatever you do, don't wait till you retire. Just do it now. Just get it going, because it always looks better if you get it going instead of, retired. Now what the hell am I going to do? So pretty much pulled the trigger. Well, actually, Mike Myers, my best friend here, that's when he came before the Bob Starr conversation anyways. He said, hey, man, I think people will come here and I think people want to do this. It's like, what are you talking about? He said, look, we could bring people over, we could come up with a school, and we could do this and buy a bunch of bikes. And then he got my wheels turning, and I've been to a number of these schools, guest instructed, with Pridmore and Spencer and the whole 9 yards. And it was always a similar show up at 8, get continental breakfast, a little bit of classroom, go ride, 5 o'clock. All right, see y'all tomorrow. And everybody goes their separate ways and gets in different hotels. And I lost a little bit of connection or camaraderie or whatever that was. So once the wheels started turning on Texas Tornado Boot Camp, we built the arena because I knew a lot of my clients were going to be European. And once we got done with that, we had everything. I said, you know what? We have to build a hotel. That's it. I mean, everybody has to stay on premise. If I'm going to do this, I want to do it right. So that's when we decided to build the saloon, hotel and all that. So it sleeps, 32. But it's turned into something bigger and better than what I guess I was imagining. First off, there's only one in the world like it. It's just so much fun. I love it when boot camps come around.
How many are you doing a year now?
We've got one starting Monday, which is our racer camp, 7 days. So it's Monday through Sunday. We do pre-COTA for 4 days. We do post-COTA for 4 days. And then our Halloween camp. So basically 4 that are open to the public, but then we actually have, I think, 11 or 12 on the calendar. And those are going to be like our private ones, Tucker or Service Pavilion or riot camps or just corporate stuff.
Now, as far as actually being retired, I mean, you're retired from racing, but obviously the travel and stuff hasn't slowed down that much because of your TV deal. Is that, you enjoy the TV thing a lot with the BT Sports?
Yeah, I'm not retired, man. I'm retired from racing, but I mean, it's so freaking flat out now. My schedule, I think it's worse than what it was when I was racing.
I think so too.
I used to have some weekend, used to wake up on a Thursday and go, hey, what are we going to do this weekend? Hey, well, we're going to go get on the boat. Yeah. Now, if I want to get on the boat, I got to plan the crap 6 months in advance and block out my schedule. And hey, we're traveling this week. We're going to Lake Travis. That's how I have to do it. I can't just, if I don't block it out, it gets filled up. But anyways, back to the traveling. Yeah, I mean, it's still traveling. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, man, my wife couldn't handle me 365 days a year. So I have to I have to go and come and go and come, and it keeps it all new.
Has the TV stuff gotten easier? I mean, as the comfort level grown?
Yeah, it's gotten easier. At the end of the day, just be yourself. I mean, you don't really have to do anything. Just don't say any bad words. And that's kind of hard for me. It's hard for me right now.
So you can't be yourself.
It's hard for me talking to y'all right now. but you just clean it up a little bit. And yeah, I mean, you said it in the beginning with the crew I got. I mean, Gavin Emmett, Neil Hodgson, Susie Perry, Keith Ewan, Michael Lavery. I mean, we're a good group. There's nobody has it out for anybody else. We're all just good friends. And that makes it easy too.
Good. I got to ask you another way back one, or kind of way back. So,
God, he always goes way back, Colin.
No, yeah, I mean, just a magical time. But no, I actually want to talk about somebody who is one of a person who I admire as much as anybody else in this industry or even in the world, and aside from Paul. And it's a guy that kind of started with you early on when you were doing motocross as a youngster. And I also think he had something to do with maybe that ride that you had at Sugo and getting them to put the right tail piece on that TZ when you raced. And it's Tom Halverson. Can you talk, Colin, about Tom? I mean, he was involved with you very early on and kind of almost he's the one that a little bit got you going on road racing, or at least helped you with that. Talk about Halvey a little bit, if you would.
Yeah. And I knew you were talking about Tom, like the first thing you said about him. But Tom, it's a weird story because, I mean, I used to get, I was kind of right behind Bradshaw, I guess, on the Yamaha days at motocross. They were grooming him, and then I was right behind, and they were grooming me and free bikes and all that shit or stuff. And see, there we go.
That's all right.
But but we show up at Ponca and Loretta, and Tom will be my mechanic, working on the bike. So, and kind of lost touch, for that year and a half or whatever it was. We went to the GNF. I think it was maybe 90, or it wasn't 91. Maybe it was 91. I can't remember. But anyways, we're sitting on the grass, and here's Tom Halverson over here taking lap times. Like, what in the world are you doing here? And he's like, oh yeah, I work for the road race team. I was like, no way, that's so weird. We're getting into road racing, and kind of got this, that was kind of my in, back to Yamaha. Obviously, was Tom. And at that time, Larry Griffiths and all those guys, and Keith and McCarty and all. Well, I mean, knew all those guys from motocross days. It kind of naturally transpired itself, obviously with the help of Tom Halverson, to get back on a Yamaha and get into the road race side of things. So, and you talk about, I mean, he was at my wedding. He was one of my best men. He was just, me and Tom go way back, and yeah, I'd give him a left foot for that guy for sure. He's awesome.
Yeah, I love that guy. I wanted to have you talk about him. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, what do you think? Shawn, I know you got another question somewhere in there.
Well, I mean, I think isn't Hayes going to be? Is he going to be 13 this year? Or is he already 13, Colin?
He just turned 14 in December.
14.
So yeah, 14.
He's of age for Liqui Junior Cup. So if you can get him off that dirt bike, we'd love to have him in our series. That's for sure.
Yeah, I know, man. Tell me about it. He's ate up with it. Man, honestly, I haven't been to the motocross track since 06. I mean, I kind of retired my motocross in 06. That used to be my training. But then I was like, man, I'm going to get hurt and getting old for this stuff. Now he's just ate up with it. So I figured I may as well go out there and ride with him a little bit and get a workout in.
Do they know who you are when you show up there?
Yeah. I mean, the word spreads pretty fast. So, try to be incognito, no name on the jersey or any of that stuff. But as soon as, somebody figures it out, then everybody figures it out.
I would just put Shawn Bice on my jersey.
Yeah, nobody would believe the size. It's funny when you post your times from your camp, and I always like to look at those and see who's done what. And, you see Shay Fuchek on there, of course, who used to be a road racer in AMA, and yep. Hayes is always like right at the top, way faster than everybody else. It's unbelievable.
I'm telling you, he's so fast out here. It's unbelievable. I mean, nobody keep up with him. I mean, you can get bigger guys like Shay and myself. We can get in front of him and we can block him a bit, but he'll always find a way by. He's just a little light. I think he weighs, maybe 90 pounds now. So, when you're dealing with, our bikes might have 9 or 10 horsepower. When you're dealing with that and 90 pounds and you're carrying an extra 100 or 70 pounds, it's not going to work. Not with his skills.
Yeah, I was going to say, forget the weight. Just go with the fact that he's better than you.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm trying to make up excuses here, man. You're raining on my parade.
Hey, Colin, I don't know if you saw it or not, but I know I see you. I follow you on social media, Twitter, and you're pretty good in that stuff. And I don't know if you saw the Throwback Thursday that I put up for today, but it was from '92. It was you and a photo of you and KRJR, and that was a photo I personally took at Loudon. I don't know if you saw it, but check it out if you haven't.
I'll have a look. Yeah, I'll have a look.
Yeah, it's you guys on your TZs. So it was a good day to do that. I've been saving that one for a special occasion, and once we got you on this podcast, I'm like, okay, I'm going to release the hounds. So
this is it. Perfect.
Okay, perfect. Colin, in closing out this, what advice would you give to a young up-and-coming MotoAmerica racer who wants to go international racing at this point? Because I know things are different now than they used to be. You're not Wayne Rainey. You don't show up and just ride around the outside of everybody and somebody says, okay, he's the greatest guy I've ever seen and here's your contract. How can they get there? And what should they do to get there? And once they're there, how do they stay? Because you're able to do both.
Yeah. That's a tough one. I mean, I wish I knew the exact formula to make or what to say. At the moment, it's tough. I'm not gonna lie to you. Money has a big thing to do with it. Where you live, what passport you hold nowadays has a lot to do with it. A young MotoAmerica kid, all I could say is it's not enough to win, unfortunately. And then this is a conversation I had this conversation with Garrett Gerloff driving home from the airport one day. I flew in. This was probably 3 years ago. And I said, man, it's cool. This is when he was still in Supersport. I said, it's fine. You winning. That's great. But what I need to see and what you need to do to wake somebody up, the eyes that are watching, is you have to destroy them. You have to get out. Don't get out a second and put it on cruise control. Get out and keep going. And you win by 10 seconds, 12 seconds, whatever you can win by, just make it look bad. And that's
Wayne says the same thing.
He does. Wayne says that. Yep.
Unfortunately, that's, when you got everybody within half a second, that doesn't really tell you much. But when you got somebody that is willing to go out there and push and give every last penny drop of whatever they have, that's somebody that these team owners and bosses are going to look at. And follow your dreams. That's all. I mean, that's the key. Just destroy and follow your dreams. Don't go out there and be happy being winning by 0.2 of a second. That's not showing anybody anything.
Well, I think that's very good advice. And again, like I said a second ago, it's kind of what Wayne preaches as well. It's like, it doesn't do you any good to win by half a second one week and get second by half a second the next week and win by half a second the third week. You got to you got to show that you just dominate the guys that you're racing against and that you're ready to move on. So
and
I appreciate that.
You look at MotoGP or World Superbike, you say, okay, I get it. It's the top guys, win by half a second. These are all the best guys in the world. But on this level, your club level, your national level, if you want to be seen worldwide, which that's going to even be tough, even if you're dominating, but that's just one step to get closer that people take a notice.
And I also, do you agree with the fact that, I mean, I think at this point in time, if you're an American, you maybe even have to do a little bit extra once you're there.
Yeah, you do. Man, it's tough though. I'm telling you, they have some young kids now that, I mean, I'm glad I'm not growing up in this age, to be honest, because these kids are putting everything they got on the line at age 14, 15. I didn't even start racing until I was 16. So it's crazy. It's progressed to such a level of young kids that have maturity that are just balls out fast. And it's hard to stop them.
All right, guys, I think we'll let the tornado get back to some work over there. And what happened to the dirt bike? I heard it quit. I don't hear it anymore. Is it just because they pulled away from the house?
No, it's Desiree. She's still out there cruising around. And I'm freezing, dude. It's like 41 degrees here in Texas. It's a bunch of BS.
Yeah, it's about 70 here, so I guess I should feel sorry for you.
Oh God, I'm jealous. Give it 2 days, it'll be 70 here. That's how it works.
Right.
All right, you two. Colin, thanks a lot for joining us. It was a lot of fun, as I knew it would be. And good luck with the TV this year and with the camps. And we'll have you back on again, and we can keep telling old stories for Shawn.
You got it. Hey,
please do.
I'll see you guys in COTA, that's for sure. Y'all be good.
Okay.
All right, you guys.
Sounds good.
Take care of yourself.
To talk to you.
All right. See you.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.